This morning, Congressman Buddy Carter, Republican of Georgia. Congressman Carter, were you there on the West Front yesterday?
I was. I was at the inauguration. I had a special guest. My guest was from my district and was the Mental Health Advocate of the Year for 2020 in the state of Georgia. So I was very proud to have her with me, and it was a delightful day for both of us.
What was her name?
Carla Sapp, Dr. Carla Sapp. She works in our federal bureau, our prison bureau, and does a fantastic job. And of course, mental health is something that is extremely important to me and should be to all of us. And she does a great job within that system, and very proud of her.
Well, I know you were just listening to that portion of Joe Biden's inaugural address that we played. What did you make of that call for unity, and where do you see your role in that as a member of Congress?
Well, certainly I applaud the President Biden, for his message yesterday. That's exactly what he should have been saying. And I thought he did a good job of pointing out that we need unity in this country. There's no question about it. Look, for the past 4 years, the Democrats have not accepted Donald J. Trump as president of the United States. They've done nothing but try to oppose him, and they've impeached him twice the last time on his way out the door. I have committed that I'm going to do just the opposite. I'm going to try to set a good example. I accept Joe Biden as president of the United States. I accept Kamala Harris as our vice president. And I'm going to try to find common ground with them. And I'm going to try to move this country forward. It's important that we do that. I'm not going to follow the example that the Democrats set for the past 4 years in rejecting Donald Trump. I'm going to set a good example and try to work with this administration.
Should President Trump have been there yesterday?
You know, quite honestly, I wish he would have been there. That's his decision, and I can't do anything about that. But yeah, I wished he would have been there. I know he's hurt. I know he feels like he was that the election was not right. But at the same time, I think it would have been. I wished he would have been there. Yes.
What do you make of the slew of executive orders that were signed yesterday? We're hearing more today, perhaps as many as 10, mostly today's executive orders focused on COVID-19 and federal response. Well,
certainly, you know, I think the irony is certainly there, where you have the president and in his inaugural address saying that he wants unity. And the first thing he does is go over to the White House and sign executive orders undoing what the previous president had already done, halting construction on the Keystone Pipeline, which is going to destroy many jobs and is going to lead to higher energy costs, joining the Paris Accords, which a lot of people in America don't agree with. And so, you know, it was really ironic that he's talking one game over here about unity. And the first thing he does is to go over to the White House and do just the opposite. And that is to alienate a number of people who disagree with those, who agree with those policies and who want to see those policies implemented. And that is with the Keystone Pipeline and with us getting out of the Paris Accords. You know, climate change is real. I believe that. I serve on the Select Committee for Climate Change. And it is important that we address climate change, and we've tried to do that. But the Paris Accords, you know, they don't address that. I mean, China accounts for a third of all of the pollution in the world, and yet they are not required to decrease their emissions until 2030. That's certainly not what we need.
On COVID-19, draw on your experience in a previous pre-congressional life. I know you're a pharmacist.
Yes.
What can we be doing at that level to get these vaccinations into arms faster? Do you see any choke points when we get down to the pharmacy and then the needles in arms part of this process?
Well, certainly we have utilized independent pharmacies as well as the chain pharmacies, and we need to. Most people are getting their flu vaccines at pharmacies anyway. They're getting a lot of vaccines at pharmacies. Pharmacists are the most accessible healthcare professionals in America. 95% of all Americans live within 5 miles of a pharmacy. So we've done a pretty good job of utilizing that. The problem right now is just getting the supply out there. And I'm really disappointed in that because, you know, up to this point, we've done a great job with Operation Warp Speed. But the distribution seems to have been a problem. Now, I saw today where Amazon's entered the picture and they're going to assist. You know, the timing of that is questionable. I don't know why it was after this administration started, but nevertheless, they're participating now, and or at least have offered to participate. And I hope that the administration will look at that, because obviously they do have a system in place that could benefit us. But we need to make sure that we're getting that vaccine out there, getting the supply out there. You know, there's a difference in the distribution of it and the administration of it. I think that we're set up for the administration. We've got quite a few calls from doctors' offices and from Department of Public Health and in our region and in our district that they just can't get the supplies that they need. They can't get the vaccine in.
Do we need another $1.9 trillion in COVID response and economic response to the crisis?
Now, that's another $1.9 trillion on top of the $3 trillion that we appropriated in the last administration and the $900 billion that we appropriated just recently. So when you put all that together, you question whether we need that much. Now, look, I know there are still people hurting out there. I know there's still needs out there, and I want to address those needs. But if you look at this $1.9 trillion package that has been proposed by the administration, you see a lot of excess in there. For instance, you see money going in there to help some of the large municipalities with their pension funds that have been mismanaged and that don't have anything to do with the pandemic whatsoever. I'm all for looking at helping small businesses. I'm all looking to help patients or help our citizens who need the vaccine, for the administration of the vaccine, for the distribution of the vaccine. But to bail out these pension funds that were mismanaged by these large metropolitan areas and had nothing to do with the pandemic whatsoever, I'm not in favor of that. So I think that $1.9 trillion can be cut back significantly.
And I guess, Congressman, before you go, as a Peach State Republican, I wonder what lessons you think Republicans in Georgia need to draw from election 2020 after President Trump lost the state and losing 2 Senate seats in the Peach State.
Well, first of all, those 2 Senate seats were runoffs. And, you know, I learned long ago that the key to a runoff is getting your voters out there. And you have to give credit where credit's due. The Democrats did a better job than the Republicans did. They had a better ground game and they got their voters out, whereas the Republicans didn't. That was a big difference. There were other things. But I do go back to the significant and substantial changes that the Secretary of State made with the Democratic Party when he signed a settlement agreement back in March of 2020 with the Democratic Party that resulted, as I say, in significant and substantial changes to the voting process in the state of Georgia. We need to tighten that up. When you send out absentee ballots and when you send out absentee applications to everyone in the state, that leaves a lot of room for error there and a lot of room for abuse. And then we need to make sure that that has been cleaned up. That is the responsibility of the state legislature. The state legislature in Georgia is in session now. They started the second Monday in January. My hope is that they're going to address that and they're going to make sure that every legal vote is counted and make sure that no illegal votes are counted.
Congressman Buddy Carter, Republican of Georgia, do always appreciate your time here on the Washington Journal. Appreciate it.